Welcome to another video from Roland Mösel, founder of Planetary Engineering Group Earth. The 1000 square meter civilization, a new guiding principle to design our civilization. All activities, all included, should only have 1000 square meter per inhabitant. We will soon be about 10 billion people. Prognosis tells that in this area the population will stabilize in the area of about 10 billion people. And these 10 billion people should use only 10 million square kilometers of the Earth's surface for all their activities. Let's look first on Germany, how many square kilometers for each activity they use. There are streets, there are buildings, there are agriculture where only plants for energy are grown. There is intensive agriculture for food. There are all the meadows. They are cut sometimes and are used for food for animals. And there are all the forests. We can say streets, buildings, all the intensive agriculture areas are 100% used by humans. And now we can discuss how much usage is at meadows and forests. This will be big discussions in the future of a form of usage is now 5, 10 or 20%. These are future discussions about how to evaluate the usage. But there is also another usage where the area is even bigger than Germany. When I evaluate 1 kilo CO2 emission per year only as 1 square meter, this would be more than 733,000 square kilometers. Oh, you know, we need two worlds, okay. Germany needs 2 Germanys alone for the CO2 emissions when we use only biological things to reduce the CO2. I made an other video where I show how it is technically possible, but when we do it only by plants, it's twice the area of Germany. So let's now look into statistics. I say that the meadows are 10% used by humans, so it's a partial use. Also the woods, only 10% usage, I estimate. And altogether, there is more than 10,000 square meter per inhabitant used. So 1 order of magnitude away from the new ideal. So the new ideal could be something like this. We need much more buildings because we grow food inside the buildings, vertical gardening, aeroponic systems. We produce energy on the surface of the buildings, all the photovoltaic, and this uses more area. But the area for intensive agriculture is reduced to 0, and the intensity of usage of meadows and forests should be halved to 5%. Ensure 0 CO2 emission. And with this target, the average would be only 906 square meters per inhabitant. Let's now make an example how this works. Let's look at a field, 1 hectare, of maize for biogas. And we compare this now with 1 hectare land for energy, a village of climate protection superiority houses. So, electricity yield 16 megawatt hours and 512 megawatt hours. Oh, is a big difference. At the field, there is an engine who produces 2 kilowatt electricity continues. No, it's not a 2 kilowatt engine on this hectare. It's more likely that there is 1 square kilometer and there is also equipment, and at this equipment is 1 gas motor with 200 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt for each hectare, and this engine produces continuous 2 kilowatt all the year around from the biogas. On the other side, land for energy, demand-based grid feed-in, this can be up to 272 kilowatt. Now, the electricity price. The farmer who makes maize for biogas does this only because he gets much more money than the market value. There's in Germany the EEG, the energy feed-in law, and this says, oh, when you make electricity from biogas, you get 16 cents, about 4 times more than the market value for this. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. At the Land for Energy village, it's all the free market price. They sell on the free market and try to get the best price, but there's much competition, so the best price will be not very high. Sales of electricity. Yes, at the Maize for biogas, it's only possible with this EEG feed-in law. And at the other side, the village people can be at the European Energy Exchange market and even on the grid frequency market. They can use every market opportunity to sell their electricity for the best price, but this best price will be in 99.9% of cases far below what the farmer for the maize for biogas gets. The equipment, I already told, maybe for 100 hectare, there's 1 200 kilowatt gas engine to make the electricity. And at the Land for Energy village, there is 640 kilowatt of photovoltaic. And for demand-based grid feed-in, we should have 1,600 kilowatt hours of batteries. Food production, no in the maize field, but the village is equipped with about 800 square meters of vertical gardening aeroponic systems, which can make a lot of food. Living space, sure, nothing in the maize field, but 1,440 square meters in the village. And I made this paper for another video, and now as I revisited this, I thought there could be a little bit improvement. Oh, there is this street in the middle of this hectare. What about we put a photovoltaic above the street? So in 4 or 5 meters high, we put 6 meters with photovoltaic on it, 100 meters long, all the hectare from one side to the other side, and this is 600 square meter photovoltaic, and so the electricity yield should be, instead of 512 megawatt hours, 620 megawatt hours, or 108 megawatt hours improvement for this small detail improvement, or the improvement for only covering the street with photovoltaic is several times higher than all the yield from the maize for biogas. And because we have a little bit more photovoltaic, now instead of 640 kilowatt, 750 kilowatt, we do also a little bit more batteries in this small village. Instead of 1,600 kilowatt hours, we put now 2,000 kilowatt hours of batteries. So you see what a joke this maize for biogas is. So we should wipe out all these fields, what is used for energy, and we should distribute this maybe 5,000 square kilometers to buildings and 22,000 square kilometers to meadows and forest. And after this, we should do this also with this intensive agricultural areas. And at the end, we have maybe much more buildings, but these buildings have now several tasks. Inside the buildings is also the food production in vertical farming and aeroponic systems, and on the surface of all these buildings is the energy production by photovoltaic. And there is much more meadow and much more forest in this scenario, so we have much more nature and less surface covered by human activities. Now, cities. Oh, there is a traditional form of a city. There is a street, and beside the street are the houses. And should cities continue to look like this? Seriously? No. This is an impossible design. Imagine you propose this in a design class. Oh, this is my dream city. Oh, better you don't do it. We have new technical opportunities. What was before not possible? Electric vehicles easily allow traffic routing in enclosed rooms. So we could put all the car traffic and all the parking cars below a building, make nice glass fronts of it. Yes, some 100 years ago it was not possible to make this, not possible to produce so much glass. And imagine all the horses shit in a closed room. Oh, it doesn't smell good. And the same problem with internal combustion engine cars. The exhaust gases, they're about 2 magnitudes more exhaust gases as human breaths. So we have, even with very clean engines, 2 orders of magnitude more air exchange necessary when there are cars with internal combustion engines. But at electric cars, it's really no problem to make this sort of traffic below earth or enclosed rooms. Now we make a thought experiment. No, this is not a demand for new taxes. This is only a thought experiment. About the details, hundreds of people, thousands of people and politicians can discuss for many years, but we start with this thought experiment. Let's take a land use tax, 1 square meter, 1 year, times the use evaluation, times the nature evaluation is the land use tax. What does this mean to a commercial enterprise? He uses 5,000 square meter. He has 20 employees. He has 5 million annual turnover. And the land use tax is only 5,000 euro. Oh, would every tax be so small than the land use tax? Every other tax much, much bigger, and only 5,000 euro land use tax. Great. Let's see, there's an old house built half a century ago, and half a century ago, land was very cheap. And so some people thought, oh, when land is so cheap, I take much of it. And so there is 3,000 square meters of ground, and there's only 1 house on it. Oh, this would be 3,000 euro per year land use tax. But when this family is as rich as half a century ago as they built this house, there should be really no problem. And when they are now a little bit poorer, they could split the ground in 3 to 6 units, and then it's really no problem. Let's look at a new house. only 500 square meter, and this is only 500 euro land use tax per year. Oh, really no problem. And now let's see a huge problem. 1 hectare maize for biogas. He produces 16,000 kilowatt hours for a price of 16 cents per kilowatt hour. Oh, these are only 2,560 euro turnover. But this is only the turnover, this is not the win. He has to buy all the fertilizer, he has to move his tractor, he has to buy this equipment for making biogas and to making electricity from the biogas. He has much expenses, so 2,560 euro turnover. The market price for the electricity is, even optimistic, only 800 euros. And the rest, the 1,760 euro, are only subsidy paid by the German feed-in law. And now 10,000 euro land use tax. This shows how grotesque, inefficient this is. Let's compare it with something else. Somewhere in a hot and dry desert, nothing grows on it. And there is 1 hectare with a big vertical gardening aeroponic systems to grow fruits and vegetables. Oh, you see, when you think only you are in a glass house and the sun burns down on it, you feel very hot. Yes, and we have here much photovoltaic for cooling and for CO2 direct air capture. So we have in the big greenhouse very small air exchange because we directly put in the CO2, and this is for a greatly reduced water usage, maybe 99% less water usage than normal agricultura. And because it's a desert and nothing is here, we have only a nature rating of 1%. This desert is only 1% nature. And because we have to multiply the land use tax with the nature use, it's only 100 euro land use tax. So you see, our whole civilization is changed by this new idea of 1,000 square meter per inhabitant. In my last video, I talked about the necessary planet renovation, that we will use far more electricity for filtering CO2 out of the atmosphere and splitting it in carbon and oxygen, and use all this carbon for useful purposes. It's not like somebody tells you, oh, it's only necessary to reduce to netto zero. This means our emissions are as big as nature absorbs, because nature can change. And instead of absorbing 20 billion tons CO2 per year, nature could start to emit huge amounts of greenhouse gases. And the next problem is, when we change our society so much, there will be sure losers in this process, many losers. And we have to give all these losers a good standard of living. They should have no fear, oh, all these changes, I will be sure a loser. I am now a big farmer, and after this, oh, what I am, or all sorts of people who loses in this change. And therefore, my next video will be enable universal basic income. How universal basic income can help to make all these changes and how big it should be. This was another video from Roland Mösel, founder of Planetary Engineering Group Earth. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when I make my next video.